Alright, in this tutorial we're going to go over the slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. So parallel lines are two lines that never intersect, they never meet, they never cross at any point. So in terms of what their slopes are compared to each other, they have the same slopes. So if the slope of your first line is -1/4 and the other line is parallel to the first line, it's also going to have the exact same slope of -1/4. Perpendicular lines are where they intersect and make 90 degrees. So if you think of a T, or I guess in this case I'm drawing an X, where the angles between them are 90 degrees. These slopes are opposite and reciprocal. So opposite is talking about in terms of its sign, so it's positive or its negative sign. So perpendicular lines are going to have the different signs. If one of the lines is a slope of 2, you know the other one has to be a negative version of that. The reciprocal means that you flip the fraction. And you may not have a fraction. That last number I told you was a positive 2. There is an invisible denominator of the 2. There is a 1 underneath that, so you would just flip it. So let's say you have a positive 2. Its opposite would be a negative, and reciprocal would be 1/2. So the 2 now becomes its denominator. So those two slopes are opposite and reciprocal to indicate that they are perpendicular lines to each other and form that 90-degree angle. So let's go into an example. Line B has a slope of -5/9. Line C is parallel to line B. What is the slope of line C? Well, it tells us that it is parallel, and we know that parallel have the same slope, so we know that the slope of line C is the exact same thing, which is just -5/9. Pretty simple. Okay, line T passes through the points 8, 9, and 3, 5. Line U passes through the points 9, 5, and 5, 10. Are line T and line U parallel, perpendicular, or neither? So your three states, they either have the exact same slope for parallel, they're opposite and reciprocal, or if they don't meet any of those conditions, then it's just neither. There is no specific relationship to indicate all of the other options if they're not parallel or perpendicular. So we're given coordinate points to represent what the lines pass through, which means we're going to have to use our slope formula to determine the slopes of each of the lines first, then compare them to see if they are the same or if they're opposite reciprocals, or if they don't have any of that. So what we're going to go ahead and do first is do line T and label our points, x1, y1, x2, y2, and then remember our slope formula, which was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're going to plug each of those four numbers into this slope formula right here. So 5 minus 9 and 3 minus 8. Now we need to make sure that these are completely simplified and reduced. All the signs are taken care of, so 5 minus 9 gives us a -4. 3 minus 8 is a -5. And since both of these are negative, when you divide a negative over a negative, your slope is actually a positive. You don't want to leave these as both negative because then it's going to really confuse you to figure out whether you need that opposite or reciprocal. So this is a positive slope. It is increasing from the point 3/5 to the point 8/9 in the up and right direction. Now let's do the same thing with our line U. So I'm going to actually label this as slope T. Line U, x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's go ahead and plug this into our slope formula. 10 minus 5 over 5 minus 9. 10 minus 5 is 5, and 5 minus 9 is -4. This cannot be reduced or simplified. We don't have to take care of anything with signs. And so that's our slope u. So we're going to compare the slope of 4 over 5 and 5 over negative 4. Now they are flipped. They are reciprocals. The 5 is on bottom here, now it's on top. The 4 is on top over here, now it's on bottom. And there is a negative. Since there's one negative in front here and it's a positive there, that means they are opposite and reciprocals, which means that line T is perpendicular to line U. Now, a couple things that would make them not perpendicular if this was positive, or if it was negative 4 over 5 and it wasn't flipped, or if it was just 12. That's neither. It doesn't fit the perpendicular criteria. All right, so there's parallel and perpendicular lines.